And we are back once again, team. We here for another round of Wednesday nights. That's what it is. That's what it is. The Pulse. We're back at it. Uh, Tonight, I think we'll be levying a few things for the viewers. We'll be setting some stuff out just to kind of see where everybody is when it comes to a few things. So, with that being said, I'm gonna jump around the room real quick as always. Brooks, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, my
I can
man.
hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you. How has your week been so far, my brother?
Oh, crazy but fun. Uh, but living the dream one day at a time. Finally, the weather looks nicer instead of last week, rain. Uh, trying to work on my tan every day in California.
Is it I don't know if y'all have gotten a ton of heat out there or not, but it's been ridiculous out here. It's been absolutely ridiculous.
Ridiculous hot or ridiculous
Yeah.
cold.
No, hot. We've been in the 80s here lately, and that's I'm suffering.
Man,
Suffering. Wig,
oh,
how about you?
give me the
Well, go
80s,
ahead, Brooks. I'm
please.
sorry. My apologies. My apologies.
I was like, give me the 80s, please. Like it's been like last week was like in the 60s and it just raining. Now it's like, okay, here we go. Looks like the sun has decided to take over. Finally, let's
Yeah.
go.
Okay. All right. Wig, how has your week been so far?
I can't complain, bro.
I feel
I,
that.
I can't complain. Hey, I'm doing better than a lot of people.
Yeah, true enough.
That's
True
all I
enough.
can say. I'm doing better than a lot of people. So I leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Rich, how about you?
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. And getting to it we shall. Now, with that being said, I just want to throw out there. Today might be a little bit touchy for some folks. The topic for tonight is the cost of the Iran war. And I know I get it, right? Let me start out by saying this. I absolutely understand it. I get it. Um, Congress hasn't declared war. So let's start there, right? Because from our general understanding of being at war as a country, Congress has to declare that, right? Are we all on the same sheet of music when it comes to that from what we've been told? Wig,
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
Brooke,
good. Man. I'm good on that.
okay. All right. Rich,
Yep.
all right. So this campaign has been called many, many things at this point. Excursions, uh, or campaign, but predominantly by the president himself. He has continuously called this a war. And the question that I'll ask first is, if Congress hasn't declared war, why is the president continuously calling this a war? Go ahead, Brooks.
You gotta look who we're talking about here, though.
Okay.
Donald Trump will call anything he wants to label it as anything. Period. Like he's done it consistently. It's how he wins the news cycle. Period. The pure fact we're having this conversation is exactly what he wants. You know what I mean? Like the left is going to be like, oh, where he didn't go to us to call to declare war, and then great, they're in the
You fell off on us, Brooks. You fell off on us. Are you back? All right. Well,
time.
until he gets back, Rich. It looked
Hmm.
as if you were starting to agree with what Brooks was saying. You want to
No,
go
let's
ahead?
let Brooks come back on, and I want him to finish his point.
Okay. Until
Yeah.
then, Wig, where
Okay.
are you at with that?
I want to hear what Brooks is saying too, but just a little bit. What I'm thinking is when you say when you're saying what's the cost of it, It depends on who's defining cost.
Okay. So let me take a note to write that down, because I think that's a valid point. Brooks, are you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. You dropped off on us. So we wanted we wanted
Oh,
we wanted you to finish. We didn't hear what the rest of your thought was.
I was saying, like, the left falls for the whole, like, what Trump does extremely well. He did it in his first campaign. He's doing it in this campaign. Is he takes over the news cycle. He does it in such a prolific way where the left wants to have their talking points out, but they can't help but reply to anything but what Trump says. And so they're literally talking about what he says the whole time, which kills any of their talking points, kills any of their momentum. And him calling it a war, even though he knows he didn't go through Congress like other presidents have done before, this keeps the left in check in the news media. There's nothing they can do but talk about what he says. And it kills them. And they fall for it every single time. Every single time. You know,
So
that's
let
all
me-
I'm
let me-
saying. Like,
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And the point, so much so that they can't get any of their agenda out. If they hate this, they can't have their ABCDE talking points about it, because all they're doing is reacting, not responding. They're reacting to what Trump says.
Okay. I was pivoting over to Rich. What is your take on that?
You asked what the cost is, right? So I thought they told us
not the cost, not the cost just yet. Not the cost just yet. We were going to swing back around to that. We were waiting for Brooks to finish up where he was his viewpoint on whether this is a war or not. But although the president continues to call it that.
So legally, this is not a war. This is a military conflict, a military invasion.
A military
legally.
invasion.
Yeah, it's a military invasion.
I think he meant incursion.
Invasion, incursion. Okay, so let me look up the different definitions. Y'all keep talking. I'll look up the different definitions of invasion
Okay.
versus incursion.
So Wig, now that we've heard Brooks's viewpoint on that, where are you with that?
I'm taking the glasses off. What you tell the parents that you what are you telling the parents that you're doing when you send their kids over there? If you're talking about Trump.
That was the question for Brooks.
Yes.
Did you hear him, Brooks?
Yeah, I call it an incursion, frankly.
So
because yes, they're over there to do some military action. They're not like invading all of Iran. They're just not doing that. They're outside the borders. They're bombing outside inside the country. They're not invading. They haven't sent military troops on the ground, far as I know of. So that's invasion. Incursion is like you have a skirmish. You have a. Go ahead.
No, so it's not a war until they put boots on the ground. Is that what we're saying?
It's not a war until Congress defines it as a war. Until then, it's an incursion.
Oh.
So when I'm reading from this one site, incursion and invasion are both terms used to describe the act of entering a territory or space with hostile intent. Now it's saying there are some key differences between the two. Incursion typically means a smaller one, more localized, or attack or invasion, which is kind of what Mr. Brooks is saying, carried out by a small group or individual. But listen to this. An incursion is by a small group or individual. On the other hand, an invasion is a larger, more organized attack involving a larger force with the intent of taking control of a territory. And that's why I said it's an invasion. And if you ask those Iranians who support their leadership, they'll tell you you've invaded our country.
So, Mr. Brooks, with that, what you know what those two definitions is, which one are we in now?
I still say incursion. If we wanted to bring our full military might, We could easily invade. Well, not even easily. We could invade Iraq. Oh, pardon me, Iran. But we are not. We are bombing the shit out of them on the outskirts and specific military targets. Yeah, it's still an incursion.
Wow.
So was that part of the was that part of what you were looking for in his response, Wig, or
Bro, yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you. You had A or B. Hey, when he said large scale, that should have told you it was an invasion right there. But you know, hey, we hear what we want to hear, we see what we want to see.
Okay. Like I said, not all our planes are there. Not all our Navy ships are there. If we wanted to do that, we could. And we're not.
so is that what would constitute a war at that point to you, Brooks? Having
Again, I
all
would
of
say
our
war is defined by Congress. Until then, it's an incursion.
okay, all right, Rich, were you about to say something?
No, I said this a long time ago that war has to be declared by Congress, even though Congress never declared the Vietnam War. That was an invasion or an incursion. Okay. But we called it the Vietnam War, but it was never declared by Congress. And I thought I said this 2 episodes back. The last time the US government, through Congress, declared war, 1942, I think it was Italy or one of the other countries, Axis of Evil.
Yeah.
So 41, it was Japan, and then maybe Italy and Germany came in 42. So we've called the Korean War and the Vietnam War, but technically they were not wars. That was an invasion. Anytime a country goes into another country, that's an invasion. You weren't asked, that you were invading that country. If another country came to our country and tried to tell us what to do, we would not call that an incursion because that country who invaded us didn't do it the correct way, or they didn't heck, even if their law said you have to go through their government to declare war, if another country came and invaded our country, we would not call it an incursion, and we would call that a war.
Would we call it an act of war, or would we call it a
You would call it, you can call it an act of war, but I'm saying as Americans, this is where you talk to African American veterans, we don't talk the same exact way as other veterans. Okay? Because sometimes we serve the country to show that, we are your equal and we love this country, even though this country doesn't love us the same way.
All right, let's just talk facts here. 2 times other countries have tried to come into the United States and take over. One in Washington, where England did it, and they held the Capitol. They burned down the Capitol. They burned down the statues, and they held Washington D.C. for like a solid minute.
Hold on. I got where you're going. You got to let Rich finish.
So I'll
sorry,
finish
Rich,
real quick. No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll let Mr. Brooks. Listen, what I'm simply saying is the reason why so many countries hate us because of the hypocrisy. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to let Mr. Brooks continue to talk, and then I'm going to come back later, and then I'm going to clean this up. And I'm going to show you the hypocrisy of this country that we love. Go ahead.
All right. Hit us with those facts, Brooks.
Okay, we got Washington. England came over, burned down the Capitol the first time, and then literally just took out all the statues. Mexico, they came into New Mexico, took over that little area of New Mexico for a hot minute. Then they ran away. And
So during that
those
war,
are the United States facts.
during that quote unquote invasion, did America own the territory that was said to have been invaded by Mexico?
At the time, it was the deal was still in the works. So no, technically no. But like I think
oh man, Suma, get up, man. Get up. That's my buddy. He goes to bed early as hell. And I've tried to get him on again, but he goes. soon was about to hit the hay. So okay, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but damn it, I'm in the shed, and I know a little thing or two about history off the top of my head. So I know the war you're talking about. I understand the period that you're talking about also.
Wait,
So
no,
let-
wait, hold on, wait.
Good.
That Mexico, you already got that straight. We didn't control New Mexico yet.
We did
But
not.
I want to go back to what he said about Washington. He said
Yeah.
Washington.
England. They came in. They got a hold of Washington. They burned down the
Mhm.
Capitol, and they
Is that
burned down the
1812?
statues at the time.
1812. Was that 1812 you're talking about?
No, that's going to be
I have to fix it.
the mid to 1700s is the period that
So-
he's talking about, late 1700s. I
So
believe.
he's talking prior to 1812. So he's referring to when we had declared our independence on July 4th, 1776. When America, when the British, the English came over here and they didn't want to pay taxes to King George, and he was trying to keep his country or his empire together. Is he referring to that period when they were trying to hold their empire together? Is that what
Yes.
he's referring to?
Yeah.
So England was trying to hold its empire together. Some of its people said, "We don't like you, so we're going to go over to some other land that has no land titles on it, and we're gonna beat the Native Americans, and we're gonna bring over some enslaved Africans, and we're gonna try to get paid to the best of our ability." And King George III said, "That is fine, but you're going to still pay me because you fall underneath the crown." And those particular white people said, "The hell with you, we'll do it our own way." And so he tried to keep the empire together. So if that is what Mr. Brooks is referring to when King George III was trying to keep the empire together, okay, all right.
Yeah, when the colonialists were terrorists.
Oh, we'll get to that. Okay. Because we go back to this Iran situation. I'm
Yeah.
going to show you the hypocrisy, and I'll double down on quote the word terrorism. But when America does it, they don't call it terrorism.
This is true. Okay, so let's get back there. Wig pointed out a question that I wrote down on purpose, and I want to pose that to the panel at this point. When we are talking about the cost of war, I tend to agree with what Wig was saying, because it does depend on who you're asking, right? So when we're talking about what's happening right now, and I'll start this one with you, Rich, and we're talking about the cost of war, be it monetary, be it physical, life, limb, eyesight, so on and so forth. What is the cost of the Iran incursion, war, invasion, excursion, or whatever else we wish to call it?
Technically, it's not a war because Congress didn't declare it.
Mhm.
But if you want to say adjective wise, we are going to war with Iran to protect Israel. Okay, that's fine. So what's the cost of it? Well, then I'm going to throw it back to Mr. Wig and Mr. Brooks, because Mr. Wig has set the pace by saying this is a subjective answer. What is the cost of war? Because if you're asking me, do I trust the U.S. government to tell me truthfully how many billions and billions of dollars they spent on this war, when they won't even tell you, when they give all those billions annually to the Pentagon, and they will not give you no transparency on how the Pentagon spent the money? Now I sound like an angry black man who distrusts the U.S. government. So I have to ask Mr. Wig and Mr. Brooks what the answer is.
Well, why would you sound like the angry black man if you're simply speaking I don't even like using this phrase, if you're speaking your truth?
Right. Because when people who look like us speak our truth. No, wait. This is not our truth. I have to go back to what Mr. Brooks said. This is a fact. Every year when the U.S. government gives billions to the Pentagon, that money is untraceable. Those are facts. So when someone says, I want to give you the facts, okay, I respect the facts. But what I really respect more is give me all the facts on everyone, whether they do good or whether they do wrong. And so that's why I said I have to go back to Mr. Wig and Mr. Brooks, because I think what they're saying represents a large percentage of America. What I say probably represents a very small percentage of America. So I have to go with numbers.
Okay, we'll move over to Brooks then. So when we're talking about the cost of war, right, and it being, because I can agree to this, it being relative to the person, what is the cost at this point?
I think if you're talking fiscal cost or mental cost, one thing or the other. So fiscal cost, whatever, like let it be 45 million, 45 billion, like as long as your goal is achieved, then whatever the fiscal cost is worth it. Whatever the, as long as, I would say hopefully nobody is killed, but minimal damage is incurred through that process. Again, you're hoping nobody gets killed, then great, and goals are achieved. Awesome. You know what I mean? Like, so like there's different, we're talking about just whether it be fiscal costs, different kind of costs, when they say counting the cost, right? When you go through lodge, right? And you go to all the chairs, there's fiscal costs, you pay your dues, but there's mental costs to go through, like that stress and the real work it takes to be leader of a lodge or whatnot, and then, or through time. But I would say as long as, hey, you achieve your goals and you don't run and you don't lead, and then it's left alone and then it festers and then you have to do it again, which then you've lost that fiscal revenue because you left an incursion unfinished, and then you're eventually down the road, somebody else is going to have to pay for it, doing it all over again. So this is why you have to finish the job. You have to.
Well, I thought we had completed the job last summer, right? When there was a declaration of the nuclear armament being destroyed, and we had already completely and totally obliterated the opposing forces, so on and so forth. And that was according to the same man that's calling this a war.
Again, you got to look who you're talking to. Okay, obliteration, war. This is Donald Trump you're talking about, like where his verbiage is going to be the way he says things. It's okay, phases of war, which, don't get me wrong, he should say it appropriate to where it is at. He does never. He never says anything appropriate to where it's at. He says, if it's, okay, we've achieved exercise A, we obliterated them. If we achieved exercise B, we totally annihilated them. We
So
achieved
then how-
exercise.
How is the American citizen to gauge how truthful or how exaggerated the words from the leader of the executive branch are when it comes to the actual things that are going on? How are you to gauge that? If what you're saying, give me a second.
Oh, sorry.
Because if what you're saying is we can't take the leader of what used to be called and used to be deemed, we can't take the leader of the free world at his word because of his grandiosity, because of his over the top explanations. Well, then is that an okay place for us to be?
We can't take any leader of the free world seriously. Like, think about it. Obama, nope. Biden, nope. Bush, no. Like, we can't take any of them seriously. We're numb to that point of like, oh, they're telling us the truth. Matter of fact, we don't even believe it. Henceforth, we get a Trump back.
Est-ce que tu parles français?
like,
Est-ce que tu parles français? Est-ce que tu parles français? Parlez-vous français?
no, I do not.
Je-moi? I speak French because you said we, and I was trying to make sure that we wasn't speaking French. It's just me that speaks
I'm
French.
saying
a bit.
the we
Because
is the royal
we do
we
take
of Americans.
other people, but I'm American also. I've listened to the sincerity of President Obama. I've listened to the sincerity of even President Bush, the second, the son, when he exclaimed weapons of mass destruction, right? And I took that seriously. I took that seriously. So not just me taking it seriously, but Americans took it so serious to the point to where we were in Iraq and we fought several decades because of his word.
There are some particular things, small things that, or maybe even large things that when a president speaks, you listen to, you believe. But when we have presidents who will lie to us, Republican and Democrat, and we're to the point where you just don't believe them, whatever the government says, they're just going to give us what they want to give us, and they're going to keep everything else behind the hat. Okay, that's where I would say the majority of the population is. They're like, whatever. And they know that Trump is grandiose. He's going to be like, again, point Article D, we achieved this. We smoked them out of the water. You know what I mean? Like that's what he does. But that's exactly my point. He says those things so the media cycle can say, hey, look, CNN, MSNBC says, oh, Trump says we smoked them out of the water. There's no more threat there. They're talking about him instead of talking about their agenda. And they fall for it every single time.
I'll come back to this because I think what you're saying is important. And what you haven't said is how to distinguish between the two. But we'll come back to that because I want to pivot up to Wig to follow up on that statement that he actually presented. And pose it as a bit of a question about it. It depends. It's relative to who you actually ask.
Right. So basically, first thing, do the first thing. Before I answer that question, I don't think that when he said about speaking, when Brooks was saying they don't believe Obama or they don't believe this person, what I think Lance was really saying was the guy doesn't know how he doesn't know how to talk.
Oh,
you can't say that they didn't even Bush knew how to get out and read properly from a teleprompter.
yeah.
Even Bush and I'm going to say all other presidents knew how to be charismatic.
Okay.
You don't tell your kids you ain't got the goddamn mortgage money. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, you might have to get a job, dog. I'm short on the mortgage this month.
Yeah.
Okay, that's that. But as far as the cost of this war, when I say the cost of this war, I'm thinking more humanitarily, because one thing that Iran is showing everybody else, you might as well get armed to the T, because if you're armed, then you don't get attacked by the United States.
So
hold on. So I would say the reason why I say that, my backup to that is, look at Syria, look at Libya. When they gave up their ambitions to do what they wanted to do, they eventually got attacked. And how did it turn out? And how did it turn out for them?
Venezuela.
Exactly. So what you can eventually start is certain countries might get in cliques and say, okay, we're going to protect each other from this person, from this person. But more importantly, we have to get armed with a nuclear weapon, because the United States don't attack anybody else that can fight back.
Damn.
Wait a minute, Mr. Wig. I've been saying this for the last year and a half. Why is it any country that has a nuclear weapon controls its destiny? And I can show you every country in Africa where all this mineral wealth comes from to develop a nuclear weapon, yet no country in Africa, not even South Africa, has a nuclear weapon to control their destiny. Because if you have a nuclear weapon, not only can you control your destiny, you can control your natural resources.
Exactly.
And I'll come back to this about the hypocrisy of this country.
So that's what I think. When I say you could put a monetary, we can count monetary all day, but if we're thinking more humanely, this is because Iran is basically telling first and foremost, Iran is not going to give up their rights to make ballistic missiles or nothing like that. That's not going to happen. They're not going to let you come in and tell them how they should live. Even when they was abiding by by the one that Obama put in place, you know, they was doing what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
But you come in, you rip it up. You don't go say, hey, I want to add to this. I'll give you something. I'll give you this if you give me that quick pro quo. You just tear it up and say, okay, you're going to do what I say do. And if you don't, this is what's going to happen. And I ran and said, okay, now I have no incentive. None.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that I monetarily, we can count the money, but what we can't count is the damage that this is going to do for us around the country. Because now everybody else can say, okay, I got a nuclear weapon. You don't tell me what to do. That's what I mean in cost.
So it will take countries arming themselves with nuclear weapons in order for the United States of America to back up off of them.
Well, I think to add to what Mr. Wig is saying about nuclear weapons that I've talked about for the last year and a half, here's one other thing a country can do other than a nuclear weapon. Have the most advanced AI drone, because you can cut your costs down.
Yeah.
And you have the most advanced AI drone. I'm talking about not just a drone that can fly a couple miles. I'm talking about have such an advanced AI drone that you can take it and let it fly, I don't know, 5, 6, 7,000 miles and bomb a target.
Yeah.
Now, you have that type of AI drone that can basically neutralize a nuclear weapon.
Gotcha. I see.
There's another way outside of nuclear power. So since they're, listen to this. They keep telling us about how great AI is.
Yeah.
You let some third world country develop AI to where they can create drones and they can defend themselves. I bet your AI won't be so good then.
And but that's where we are, right?
I don't know.
I think we're on the precipice of that, quite honestly. So let me ask this question. As it came to me, and then everybody was just talking. $1.5 trillion. $1.5 trillion with now let me preface that by saying this, because I know where you're going to end up going, Rich. Thin air, got it. But we're talking about the perception of it. $1.5 trillion. Is that something we need to dedicate to what's happening in Iran?
You know what? This is where I have to go back to what Mr. Brooks said. Now that you've gone in, you got to finish the job.
But I thought it was essentially finished, according to POTUS.
Again, what Mr. Brooks said. He talks in a grandiose fashion. Again, to what Mr. Wicks said. All the other presidents can talk more eloquently and more descriptive to what's going on, but this particular president doesn't. But like Mr. Brooks said, he talks in grandiose terms. And I will add to that. He told you, I'm a businessman. And businessmen always sell more. They always are trying to sell the product or sell themselves to sell the product.
Yeah.
So now that we're in there and he's asking for 1.5 trillion, you kind of have to give it to him.
Well, let's make sure we always preface him being a businessman with failed. I got it. And I say that because of the amount of bankruptcies that he's had, not because of his continuation to try and be what he began to, what he ended up becoming while he's been in the seat of the president, as the president, right? Making money off of the backs of the United States. Anyway, that's a whole nother story for another
But it doesn't matter. Whether he's a successful businessman. Here's what you can't take from this particular president. He won when people said he could not win in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
He came back after losing in 2020 and won again. So whether you hate the man or not, when you can win the presidency of this country, regardless of how you did it, 2 times, you're a success story. You cannot take that from this individual.
And I won't try to take that from him, but again, like you were just saying, if we're going to tell it, we got to tell the whole thing, right? And let's he's never won against a man, right? And let's be honest. And again, this isn't really a debate that I get into because he won at the end of the day.
Right.
But let's also place the hatred of Americans on the platter also as a huge and large contributor as to why he
But here's the problem. But here's the problem. You talk about the cost of war. This is one of the costs of war. One of the costs of war is you have to follow the leader who won the election. That's a cost of war before the war even started. So when you say, well, he never beat a man, that does not matter. He does not control the Democratic Party. So when a person enters the race to be number one, whoever the competitors are, he didn't choose them. He has no control over that. Now, this 1.5 trillion
the Democratic Party chose Kamala. They're the ones who picked her.
Well, yeah. Again, that's not a debate that we gotta jump into because look, that's.
But I want to go back to that 1.5 trillion.
Yeah.
And this war, because in a sense, that cost goes to President Trump. Because if he had not won this election, if Kamala Harris had won, we would not be over in Iran. So all of this goes back to this man and this election. So the cost of the election was this war in Iran. So that's a deeper issue. So when if he says, I need 1.5 trillion, hell, he probably needs 2 or 3 trillion. Now, honestly. But since you're over there and you disrupted Iran and they're sticking their chest out saying, we don't care nothing about you. We're going to fight you to the very end. Well, then, like Mr. Brooks said, and I said it, and Lynn Medeiros said it last week, you have to finish. Not just because you claim that you're the world's leader. Nobody took the vote, but you claim you're the world's leader. You claim you're the toughest. We didn't take a vote from no other country. We claim we're the toughest. President Trump claims he's the smartest president we've ever had.
Oh my God.
He claims that he's the second coming of Jesus Christ. So he has to finish what he started against these Muslims. And when your daughter is married to a conservative Jew, you tell me what he has to finish. He should have never gone over there, but now that he's over there, he's got to finish it. And some people are going to die. So when I said on this, and I said, I don't want the podcast to be taken off air, I said, you're going to have to kill men, women, and children. Oh, yes, you are. That's war. And you said, well, we can't do that. We don't do things like that. We're Americans. We do things a certain way. That's not how the Middle East operates. When they come to bomb you, they're going to bomb you from every damn direction. And that's their prerogative. That's how they get down when they go to war. So, unfortunately, we're probably going to have to kill some people, a lot of people, to take over that Iran, because Iran is the jewel of the Middle East. It's not Israel. It's not Saudi Arabia. It's Iran.
Wig, you had unmuted. Looked like you were about to say something. Go ahead, jump in there.
1 point. How much was it? 1 point what trillion?
5.
Who gonna pay for it?
That's a question for you, Brooks. Who's gonna pay for that?
Who gonna pay for that?
We're gonna print that money and we're gonna pay for it. We know this. That's the easiest
No,
question on the docket today.
So what are we taking away from?
They're not gonna take it away from them. They're gonna print the money and then we were gonna pay for it. Period.
So our grandkids and grandkids gotta pay.
No. Wait a minute. Hold on, Mr. Wig. I've been saying this for 2 years. And Mr. Brooks has just now finally acknowledged it. He said, print the money up. You don't have to take from nobody. And he's absolutely right. Print the money up. That's printed out of thin air. That's fiat money. But while you print that 1.5 trillion up, can you print up $1 trillion to do universal health care to get it started? Can you do that? Because if you did, you would surely shut down a lot of Democrats.
Well, let's stay right there. Let's get in the holding pattern right there with what you was just talking about, right? Because It's $1.5 trillion. And recently the president began to exclaim that the federal government can't make these payments for Medicare, Medicaid. We just
Child
can't
care,
do it.
child care.
Yeah, child care, so on and so forth. We can't do it. We're fighting wars, is what he said. I just want to remind you all that that's what the president said. That's not what Jay Glass, the movement, saying. That's what the president said. We're fighting wars. Listen, we just can't do it, right? So if what you're saying, and again, by and large, I don't disagree with you, Rich, that it's a fiat currency. And to Brooks's point, if we just gonna print it up and print it out, well, then why are utility bills being raised roughly 8 to 12% during this time?
So now here's the problem, and this is one of the weaknesses of the Republican Party. One of their weaknesses. If the Republican Party was to really state the truth that the money can be printed up and it's fiat, what would happen is then the Democrats who are far left of the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party would say, well, then I really don't have to work. Why do I have to work? You can print the money up, and as long as somebody else accepts it, then I don't really have to work.
Yeah.
And so, and this is going to happen maybe now up to the next 20 or 30 years. If the money has no value except in the perception of it, you don't have to work to earn the money, just print the money up. As long as other countries and your own country accepts the money as a value of exchange, then you don't have to work. Then you can let AI do everything.
But now we're getting into this.
If you just print the money up,
Yeah,
and people don't have to work.
Yeah, I don't want Skynet to happen, but I'm trying to understand why. Thank you for laughing at that reference, Wig. I appreciate that. I'm trying to understand why these scales aren't balancing properly. Because the longer we've been staying in Iran, the higher we've seen things become. Again, gas finally went down a little bit today, but just earlier today when I drove and I put a couple of dollars in my car, which, by the way, conspiracy theory, these bastards are watering down the gas. I don't care what nobody's saying, because that gas is running thin. I got a V6. I know I got a V6, but I know exactly how far my car travels after I fill it up. And damn it, this ain't it. All right, let me come back to let me get out of conspiracy theory real quick. But if we are able to, why aren't these scales balancing properly? Right?
Because that's not the way this country is set up.
Well, I get that, right? But if it's just fiat currency, if we can just print the money,
Right.
well, then nothing should be happening to groceries, utilities, Medicare, Medicaid. Nothing should be happening to wages, to with people having their federal income tax checks sent out late, and we shouldn't even be paying that for that matter.
So wait a minute. Here's where wait a minute. This is where it gets tricky. This is where if Lynn Medeiros or Deuce was on. Remember when we talked about the word economics, and I told you it's a fake science, it's a pseudoscience, it's a liberal arts science. It all depends on your opinion.
Sure.
Do you think resources are scarce? Now, for those who truly believe in God or Jehovah or Allah or Yahweh, we truly believe that nothing is scarce, that God provides everything in abundance. Only man tells you, Mr. Adam Smith, that we don't have enough of everything. And so that's why they'll tell you we can't afford to do this or we can't afford to do that. But in this country, we're supposed to be a God-fearing country. Allegedly, the Republican Party says we are the most God-fearing of both parties. And without us, this country would go to hell in a handbasket. They're not completely wrong, but they're just not completely right either.
Well, then let me put everybody's God to the test. Who makes that claim? Whoever's deity is saying that there's no scarcity of resource. I need your deity to go to a gas station in Anywheresville, America, and point to the gas sign and tell people who are about to fill their vehicles up from a bank account that's almost overdrawn that they don't have to believe in that number that's up there.
That's not what I said. I said as long as people believe that resources are scarce and the wealthy run that game better, run that game on the lower masses,
Yeah.
that resources are scarce. So we can't afford to do certain things, but other things we can afford to do. For example, my belief in God says that I want everyone in America, because I believe we have the #1 country, even with our character faults, that we are the #1 country and we should have the best health care. And this idea that if you have socialized health care, you'll destroy the country, I cannot accept that. So in the same hand, when I say we have the #1 military, but I serve the country, so I'm biased, we have the #1 military, and we'll spend whatever it takes to have the #1 country, the #1 military, so we can, quote, protect ourselves from somebody else. Take that same attitude about giving health care to your people.
And and so that's partially my point, right? That and I'm because I'm there with you. I am. If America is claiming, and I'm gonna push over to you, Wig and Brooke, in a second. If America is claiming that in all of their 3,000 plus denominations, there is still, they have the right character of God divided into those denominations, right? Well, then we shouldn't. Hell, we should be living like Israelis. That's beginning to become the opinion. We should have, like you said, healthcare. We should have great healthcare. We shouldn't have to worry about this capitalistic society and the fashion that we do. We shouldn't even have the thought of the perception of a fiat dollar damaging or coming in between what we're doing, because deity has expressed something different. Especially for the politicians that are making these laws and pulling these strings and saying one thing in public but doing something else.
One quick point, and I'll let Mr. Brooks and Mr. Wick get at it. When they tell you about, in the Old Testament, you have to work, that you can't be lazy, that you have to work, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong. But what they leave out is Israel. No, I'm going to go to the middle. I'm going to go to Oman and Qatar and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Okay? Through the blessings of Allah, they have that oil well. All right? And they take care of their people in a way that we don't take care of our own.
Yeah.
All right?
And we got more oil.
When you look at the foundation of this country, this is where you go back to your foundation. You didn't allow women to vote initially. You said that one group of people were inferior, so you can enslave them and bring them over. And you told the Native Americans, if you don't have treaties, we're going to fight you for this land. And even if you have a treaty, this gun, this musket that we have is stronger than that bow and arrow. And we're going to beat you for this land. That's your foundation of this great country. I'm going to shut my mouth.
No, I think that's a perfect point for you to end on, because that is what seemed to me to be happening during the past talk, right? The Iranians knew the games that Americans play. Once we got into the meeting rooms and we began to backtrack on the things that we said publicly we agreed to through our president, they ended the actual ceasefire, the peace talks. They walked away from the table, right? So what you're saying is spot on. It's been a dictate of American characteristics from day one, is to go back on that word, especially when treaties are involved, unfortunately. So pushing over to you, Wig. It looked like you was about to say something at one point, and I jumped in there. Actually, my apologies, Wig. Let me move down to Brooke.
Okay, go ahead.
Brooks, you there? All right, go ahead.
Yep.
Go ahead and jump in on anything that you need to.
I'm in listening mode right now, just hearing different perspectives. If there's a specific question you want to address, I'll address it. But right now, I was just in listening mode until I don't really have anything pertinent to say or add or to disagree or agree in
Well, let
other
me-
way. So right now, I'm just
Well, let me do two things. First off, Keith Knox, I just put the invitation inside.
Oh
box.
yeah,
So
yeah,
either bring your ass on here or shut the
yeah.
fuck
Please
up.
do.
And I
Please
rarely
do,
drop
Keith
the
Knox.
F-bomb
I'm waiting on this. I
on
want him
my
to come
on my channel.
Yeah, I
but-
want him to come on.
Hop on or take your mangina fingers and go put them in your mouth. One of
Yeah.
the two.
I'm
You
glad
can
you
have
beat me
both.
to it because I want Keith Knox to come on, not because I want to attack Mr. Knox, but I want to show you the hypocrisy of this country. And maybe Keith Knox would agree. But since we want to talk facts about what he's talking about, we killed a shitload of radical Islamic pigs. Now, if you call someone a pig, they call us the same thing. Okay. And that's a huge game. That's his opinion. I respect that.
I don't.
Then he says, if you didn't complain about all the illegal aliens that came in here and took jobs from African Americans, well, hold on, Mr. Knox. I'm all for stopping that border and enforcing border security. So you
Well,
must
I'm
have me
not.
confused.
But hold on. Because what I want Mr. Knox to do is, and I'll go to any website he needs me to, but find me literally find me a specific black job so I can pull it up and see what it looks like. That's what I want. That's what I want anybody to do for me.
But I
Find
want
me those African American jobs, but I'm pretty sure that Mr. Knox won't come up here because
Well, I
just
want
like
Mr.
most
Knox-
of the times,
But I want Mr. Knox to know that not every black person
yeah, that's true.
that comes on this show is a Democrat or a liberal, because I am not, Mr.
Yeah,
Knox.
and I will
and neither
also,
am I.
yeah, I will say that for the record also. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a party affiliated liberal. I am no party preference.
Yeah, but I really wish he would come on.
He won't.
Because there's something else I want to say about this hypocrisy of this country, and I was trying to wait to the very end. But since he's jumped me on this, he wants to talk about Iran and this and that. Here's the funny thing about Iran.
I'll put it back.
1979, Khomeini was put in office because they had a revolution, right?
Yeah.
47 years later, 2026, we've jumped in and invaded Iran because we said that Khomeini is a threat to humanity and he's a threat to Israel. Okay? 47 years later, 1979, so in 2026, 47 years later, we invade this country with the 47th president. That's not by accident. Okay? By the 47th president. But what Mr. Knox has not told you, and what the American news media, not even CNN or MSNBC or NBC or CBS will tell you, is that our CIA was over there wreaking havoc in 1953 and ran that leader out of office that was elected by the Iranian people. Okay? That leader that was elected by the Iranian people, the democratic government, got his ass ran out. Okay? And then we established who we wanted to be in charge. Then the people in Iran said, we sick of this. We have to go with this religious zealot, Khomeini, in 1979, then that's what we're going to do. And that's what they did. So the truth be told, we were acting like terrorists in Iran in 1953. I wish Oscar was on here because he could run through all of Latin America and tell you how many times our CIA has gone down as a terrorist organization, quote, spreading democracy. Spreading democracy. Was it Panama? Was it Venezuela? Was it Nicaragua? Oh, God.
Cuban,
Cuba. Oscar needs to come on and set that record. Argentina.
golly,
Because we're spreading democracy. We're looking for resources, but we're spreading democracy.
yeah. And so go ahead, because I've run through the history of Iran, American CIA agents when they were collaborating for the first mission, one of the first missions with the Anglo Petroleum Company, which is now known as BP, the British Petroleum Company, and how all that I went through that whole gambit some time ago when we first started talking about this. But it seems as Knox isn't going to come on, as it often happens.
Wait a minute. Listen to this. The number 47, which is ironically, people don't realize this. What happened in 1947? Does people know what happened in 1947?
Not off the top of my head, but if you get me started, I'll probably be able to finish it.
All right. So when was the CIA established?
That I don't know.
1947.
The actual CIA?
The CIA was established in 1947. You know how I know?
How's
Here,
that?
let me go back and make sure I say this right. The CIA.
You're correct. It's by Truman.
Yeah. Now, here's the funny thing about this, because why it's so important, just like 1913 is so important. The CIA was established in 1947 through the National Security Act. Okay? I wish I had the exact month. I think I know it.
It's in September 18th.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Now, Mr. Brooks has stated September 18th, 1947, CIA was established. What else was established on September 18th, 1947?
Is that when they were in the Grove?
Nope.
What's that?
What branch of the military was established in 1947? And I want to say, maybe I'm
Wasn't the
wrong
Army
on the exact date.
Wasn't the Air Force, was it?
Of course it was the Air Force.
Was it? Because the Air Force was the last branch or during that period until we had Space Force, right?
So let me go to it. I'm pretty sure, maybe I got my dates wrong. The National Security Act, 1947, became law July 26. Okay. Now, here we go. It created the Department of Air Force, blah, 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 Chief of Staff on September 18th, 1947. Now, why do I get so loud about that? And I'm grateful to the Army, and I'm grateful to the Navy, and I'm grateful to the Marines. And I make sure I say that correctly, because Army's first, and then the Navy, and then the Marines, and the Air Force is number 4. The reason why I say that is this: when America wants to get at you, and Mr. Brooks said we can bomb the shit out of you, he ain't talking Navy. He's talking to the Air Force to come bomb the shit out of you. That's what he's saying. And when we want to really cause you problems and not use our military, we'll send the CIA in. And they'll bomb the shit out of you by getting your own people to bomb the shit out of you. Those are your killers. Now, we always say the Marines are our killers. We always say Delta Force and the Army are our killers. They are. We always say the SEALs are the expert killers. They are. But when you want to send a message of a lifetime and do it in secret, you do it through the CIA. When you want to send a message of a lifetime and make it to where the whole world says, oh my God, don't bomb me. You bombed me once. Don't bomb me with that little fat man again. This is how I said that. Don't bomb me a second time with that fat man.
I got you.
So you use the Air Force. So a lot of times when people say, numbers don't mean anything, there are certain years that mean something. But that 47, in this particular situation, when 47 years later, we run that leader out of there after 1979 with the 47th president, that is not by coincidence. It's not. But you have to really look deep into things. So
I'll have to think about that. I'm not throwing it off.
No, I mean, because you know me, I'm big on numbers. And when they say that President Trump doesn't know what he's doing, sometimes he may not know what he's doing, and sometimes he knows exactly what he's doing, but he ain't gonna let you know. And then sometimes there's people telling him, hey, you're gonna do this, because if not, you're gonna have some problems down the road.
So speaking of that, let me pivot a little bit and be a bit facetious, if I can. So should people be okay with his mimicking or memeing or AIing Jesus?
Wait, hold on. I'm glad you brought that up
Yeah.
about the cost of war in this particular president. And I'm not trying to defend him. I'm not trying to offend him. But here's what I will say. He was wrong for doing that, just like he was wrong with putting those apes. But even though he didn't do it, that those memes or videos, AI videos were sent to him, and he just reposted it.
Yeah, he
But
said
here's him portraying himself like he was Jesus Christ. He said he was portraying himself as a doctor, but that was sent to him. He didn't quote necessarily create the AI.
Yeah,
but here's what I will say. Here's the funny thing about people. They said you can't portray yourself as being Jesus Christ, the Son of God, if you believe like that. Okay, I do. So you can't portray yourself as being the ultimate white man. Listen to how I say this. The ultimate white man. Because Jesus has always been portrayed as being white in Europe. And his father, God, is portrayed as the only great white man. At Sistine Chapel, when he's pointing and touching Adam, you're not supposed to paint God and Jesus and the angels as any color or as any image, as in the commandments, Exodus 20. But they did it anyway. So when Donald Trump says, hey, if you want to think that I'm the second greatest thing since Jesus Christ, hey, I'm cool. In a sense, I can't blame him. Because you should have never portrayed Jesus as being a white man to begin with when you knew that was a lie. You knew that was a lie. So for this particular white man to come up and say, well, hey, I want to be Jesus Christ, I can't blame President Trump.
So let me ask this, right? Wig, is this one of those times where we should just take POTUS as he's just being him. He's grandiose. He's over the top. He's just being extra, and he's got the attention of the news media. He also got the attention of the motherfucking Pope too. But I'm gonna come back with that in a second. Go ahead, Wig.
Why are we lowering the bar? That's all I want to know. Why are we lowering the bar?
What do you mean by why are we lowering the bar?
But we lowering the bar by making sense of what he's doing when we all know that is not presidential. So why are we lowering the bar?
I mean, it's just good showmanship. It's what the news catches on to, and the Democrats can't get anything pushed in what they want. They can't talk about shit because they got to pivot to that.
But they can pivot to that all they want to. But at the end of the day, who owns all three branches of government and ain't passing no bills?
Yeah. I can't
fight
you on that. That's all Republican owned right now.
You can't blame that on the Democrats. So why are we lowering the bar?
Well, I will.
We take this guy say one thing. This is the first president in my lifetime where I've had. If he says one thing, I'm supposed to go dig behind the scenes to find out what he's saying. And whatever you find out, whatever you find out what he's saying, somebody else gonna say, well, that's really not what he meant. What he meant was this, and he meant for that. And that's supposed to be leadership.
But Mr. Wig, and this is where I get into it, Mr. Medeiros, about the definition of leadership. That is so subjective. So I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. But anytime you ask people about leaders, hey, isn't this an interview test? Is a leader trained or is a leader created, or is a leader born from birth? So
I think a leader is trained, because you got a lot of people born with silver spoons in their mouth by as stupid as I don't know what. Let's look at the president. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and right now, nobody can honestly say that this guy almost. I ain't saying he's the dumbest person in the world, but you better hope that person don't die.
Well, I can't dispute what you're saying because that's your personal opinion. All I know is this.
Y'all give this guy way too much credit, dude.
No.
Y'all do. Y'all give him way too much credit.
Oh no. What I do know is this. Leadership is a subjective word to a lot of different people. Okay. And what we know as a fact is when you want to run to be the president of this country, I don't care how smart you are, I don't care how dumb you are, you got to have somebody pulling for you, and you got to have something to you to win a presidential election.
No, no. You can't tell me one time that you ever heard this guy talk coherent about any policy.
No, he hasn't. And I've
One
run,
time. I'm talking about the whole time he's been in government. Name me one time he's ever talked coherently trying to convince you about a policy and it made sense to you.
Well, but Mr. Wig, when you say that, I can't go against your opinion. But unfortunately,
Opinion?
what,
You heard him talk? You been listening to him?
okay.
No, I'm just saying, bro. Listen, I want to root for him. But look, you know, we all been in school before, right? And you have these classes where they're a little slow. Even they have to line up to go to lunch. The person in the front supposed to be.
shit. Hold on, Wig. Kind of lost you.
Yeah.
Say something?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
A class where everybody a little slow. They have to still line up to go to lunch, right?
Yeah.
So somebody's gonna be in the front. But you ain't finna follow the one in the front because you know how stupid that person is. Just because you put in there, just because he's in that position, he can't be making. I don't know who's making decisions up there, honestly, but that's scary.
But here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. When this man had a track record from 2016 up to 2020 through 2020, regardless of how he communicated his policy, he had a track record, and he came back in 24 and won an election. So enough people said that we don't think you're that dumb. We'll take a chance on you, even though we know that you'll say and do anything at any given time, and you won't have no accountability for it.
So
And
what
the
was his
people-
track record? What was his track record?
What, from 2016 to 2020?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a Republican. I don't know his exact track record, but
Shit. I can tell you.
He was brazen.
His-
He would
his-
say
his-
anything he wants. He wanted
first
the N words
term-
like the Abraham Accords and
His
whatnot.
first
And
term
like,
was shit. Just like this term is shit so far.
But here's the problem, though. When you can convince more than half the country to vote for you, to where you don't just win the majority vote, you sweep the swing states, and you win, of course, the electoral college. Then when you say this person is that dumb, then you're really calling, God, I sound like a Republican now. You're really calling half the country, and I'm not a Republican, but you're calling half the country, you're that dumb to put this individual back in office when you know what he's done from 2016 to 2020 and how he's acted from the time he left office in 21. I'm done. Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
What's the
more importantly-
average? What's the average American reading level? Hold on, Wig. Something's up with your audio. Give me a second. Let me try to see if I can fix you. All right, I think we got you. Go ahead.
while you're fixing that, bro, Glass,
Go ahead, bro.
more
Go ahead.
importantly, the other party was that bad that the majority of American people said, no, we want that guy back.
Listen, y'all keep using that, y'all, and listen. Let me preface this. I'm not debating you all on that point. That people were looking and saying the Democratic Party was just that bad, right? I'm not debating that. But I'm also not going to give Americans more intellectually than where we actually are. And I'm saying that,
See, no, I agree
fortunately,
with you because
they're
I think
smart.
Americans are smart.
No,
They actually will vote for their.
That's not true. That's unfortunately not
Okay.
true. And that's the. I'm
I
talking
agree to disagree. Fair.
I'm talking statistically. The average American, we are not a bright country. Look at where we are globally, educationally, right? Look at and not just from here recently, but go back and look at where we've been going and where we've been trending. So
Right.
just so the internet has done a horrible service of making people who are not all that intelligent look bright. They've done a
But
horrible job with that.
but you know, for me, it's very simple. It's very simple. He gave a certain portion, a majority portion of Americans somebody to look down on.
Yeah, and that's part of the ploy. And again, that's why I say a lot of the people who voted this last time for the current president, they didn't vote out of intelligence. They voted out of hatred and fear.
Wait a
They
minute.
were
Hold on.
feared, they pushed fear of immigrants, and they pushed hatred of minorities.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. I had this conversation years ago with somebody. This is how I always know who runs in elections like I have and who hasn't. Number one, we're still the greatest country with our character flaws. We're still the greatest country with our character flaws and our foundation.
Being the greatest
Number
does
two-
not mean that you're the smartest. I'm just throwing
Wait
it
a
out.
minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Number two, we still have the best people in the world, even with our character flaws. Yes, we do. Number three, our people are not dumb.
Listen,
Number four, no, I know we disagree on this. Number three, our people are not dumb. Number four, people don't vote off logic. People vote off emotion. Okay?
Yeah.
Emotion.
I agree with that.
And now, not all people vote off emotion, but remember how the Democrats, how sometimes they've talked down to people and they've lost votes because
Yeah.
of that? That's not good. Even though if you're pointing out somebody's insecurities and stuff, and that they're voting against their best financial interests, that's not good. But you can't really talk down to people. And I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I can go at people and say, hey, look, blah, 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 and know I'm right, and they know I'm right, but because of how I made them feel. For example, let's take it to men and women. I can go out to a nightclub and tell a woman, this is who I am. I believe in financial accountability, blah, 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 blah. But if she ain't really, this is how I said this. If she ain't really feeling that, I'm going home by myself.
You know what? I might have to go back and recant my statement, because intelligence is relative to the topic and the experience and the study of the people or the group of people that are being tested. So we are not an emotionally intelligent society. We do have smart people running around here, but we are an emotionally foolish country and a morally baseless country, unfortunately. So I will go back and recant the Americans aren't smart, because again, it's relative. Intelligence becomes relative to multiple different factors and variables. But what I can agree with you 100% on, Rich, is people vote out of emotion and not out of logic. And that's the truth. That's the unsettling part of America, because emotions, what people tend to forget about emotions is that they're not long lasting. They're not long lasting. They're very, very subjective to a moment, a time, and a space.
Listen to this. There are people who call me stupid because I believe in something I've never seen. And listen to how I say this. Logically, they're correct. I ain't never seen God. God ain't never came down and said, hey, man, let's run down to the store and grab some milk and eggs and cheese and come back and I'm going to cook and everything going to be cool. He never did that.
Right.
God has never called and called me on the phone and say, hey, man, get up. Get your butt up. But I believe in God through Jesus Christ. Is it my upbringing? Possibly. Is it my own personal walk? Yes. But for other people who don't believe in God, because they don't feel that way, and logically they've never seen God, logically. So when we talk about getting people to vote, we're talking about getting people to have hope. Hope is not based on logic, not always. For some people, yes. For some people, no.
Yeah.
So in this country, we're voting on hope, because like a lot of black folks say, we don't want to vote because we don't have no hope in this country. That's what they're saying when they don't want to vote. When they call each other the N-word, because they have no hope for tomorrow. So when let's take it back to the cost of this war for a second.
Yeah,
What
let's
it
do.
really comes down to is, do we have hope for tomorrow? Because Mr. Brooks says we do have hope for tomorrow. So whatever we have to do to win this war, we're in it. We have to finish it so we can maintain our hope for tomorrow. That's one person's outlook. And I'm not so sure it's all based off of logic. I think a lot of it's based off of hope.
Sure. And I
agree with what you're saying,
ahead,
because
go
if
ahead,
you look at look at the presidential messages, right? Clinton's was, what was it? I think it was "Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow," like literally his song, and Obama's "Hope and Change," right?
Mm-hmm.
Like these are like, YMCA, Young Men's Christian Association. If you listen to the words of the song, it's talking about that for the future.
And MAGA is actually, what's funny? You can almost say the same thing about MAGA. MAGA is about having a hope to return back
sure
to the old times.
Yeah.
And this is why when me and Lynn Medeiros was getting into it about the transgender issue, he said that issue is a very minute issue. But to people who have hope of keeping this country strong, that's a huge issue that will overcome all the other issues, even involving money. Because if you cannot, for people who have a tremendous amount of hope and a belief in God, if you cannot define a man and a woman, that person is not going to vote for you, or they're going to vote for nobody in your party. And it comes down to something that very simple. If you cannot define a man, listen, if a person comes out and says, well, I think whites are better than blacks, that person's going to grab votes. That person will grab votes.
Yeah.
But if you come out and say, you cannot tell me the difference between a man and a woman, that there's more than two genders, I can guarantee you a whole lot of this country is going to say, we can't talk to you because you can't even do the basic stuff correctly.
Go ahead.
On the MAGA thing.
Yeah.
You say they trying to go back to who?
They're trying to go
MAGA
back.
is about having hope of going back and reestablishing yesterday. And by reestablishing the days of the past, there is no transgender. There is no affirmative action. There is no free handouts. Oh, what else do I need? There is no illegal crossing of the border. That's their idea of going back to the past.
What period would that be?
Huh?
What period would it in history or whatever? What period would that be? That they can get back to that.
I kind of want to say from 1865 up to 1865 to 1964.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of want to say.
That's
But I'm
crazy.
not a MAGA. So hold on. I ain't MAGA. So I don't know. I'm just
So you
guessing.
I don't think you have to be MAGA to do the math. I think it'd be hard to point to any other period that America, in no uncertain terms, was quote unquote progressive. We were progressing economically, globally, so on and so forth, right? And that's from the viewpoint of MAGA, right? So the 1865 up through 1965-ish, maybe, which is one of the reasons why Project 2025 wanted to begin to roll back a lot of these various dates, right? Because a lot of the stuff that happened during that period of time is what progressed America forward, as far as diversity is concerned, right? Because what Americans tend to forget that America was at a stalemate. There was no real progress that was being had. Now, there was still progress, slow moving progress, but once diversity hit the scene of the American land, that's when America began to take off.
But that 64 Desegregation Act that allowed integration to happen, when that happened and President Lyndon Baines Johnson said, well, we probably just lost the South.
Yeah. And he was right.
So what no probable, you lost it. And that's so if certain white people say, well, that segregated facilities, yeah, that was kind of wrong. This is how I say this. It was kind of wrong. Okay, that's reasonable. But from 1965 going up, with that voting and all that, to a lot of, in my opinion, to a lot of white people,
Yeah, I mean that's
But
Trump and the Dixiecrats took.
But listen, all of that would have been great. But what happened was when they put a black man in that White House 2 straight terms,
that was too much.
if I could roll it back, I would say don't put him in.
Nah, damn that.
Instead of saying, well, here's what I would say. Here's what I would say long term.
Folks will be all right.
No. Here's what I would say long term. Instead of giving me one black president, give me about 15 black senators, men and women, and I can roll with that. I can't because I'm looking because if you had to put Obama in 2 straight terms, there would be no Donald Trump. That's a guarantee. And there would be no rebellion. I mean, this rebellion against so many things. Because
all it did was show the colors. All it did is show their true colors.
Yeah,
you're right.
So,
but what I'm saying is,
I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but we have to look at this experiment in the fashion of progress. We have to.
Right. I was going to say that too. How can we say we progress and then we move?
Yeah, and if we aren't met with markers throughout history that make us take a real look in the mirror, well, then we can't progress properly. And so maybe President Obama did make a lot of people take a look in the mirror and realize, wait a minute, I am still pissed off about 1965. I am still pissed off about 1964 because my papa was telling me about that, right? I am still pissed off about 1860 because the South was supposed to rise again. I want to wave my Confederate flag, and I feel bad and ticked off when that history isn't taught the way I wanted to.
You put a black man in office 2 straight terms. Gay rights really took off. Gay marriage became legal through the Supreme Court. President Obama used tons of drones for military incursions. Took out President Gaddafi because President Gaddafi said he wanted to have all of Africa on one gold standard, and other people in Libya had free healthcare and free education. Took that. This was a black president, took out another black leader.
Yeah.
And then with the gay movement came the transgender movement, then came the defund the police. All this stuff comes during or on his way out, President Obama. That's too much, too fast. And I don't have to be a white person to understand that, hey, wait a minute. I have to accept black people for being my equal? Maybe. And now I got to accept gay people? Maybe. And now I got to accept these transgendered people? Hell no, I ain't doing it.
And again, that's not a part that I'll disagree with you on, but I would take those back-to-back terms of President Obama, right? Like, and that's going back to something that you said at the beginning of the show, is America being the best country in the world, right? Even with our character flaws, because again, these markers are points in time where we have to go back and we have to look at the consistency of actions, behaviors, and consequences, as well as if we're going to be progressive. You can't tell me at this point that if you're voting on the same side as a known racist out of fear, that's a chin check to the country.
But wait a minute.
And I'm then not it puts us in Iran.
But wait a minute. I'm not a white person, but I can't go outside my blackness and go into a white person's shoes.
Oh, you about to do that racial Franz.
Listen to this. You get a black president, black people got their chest poked out. And now I didn't say the most important thing. I'm a white person and I'm trying to come to grips with a black person. And maybe black people are my equal. And I'm trying to come to grips with black people. And then next thing I know, they talking about they want reparations. And I'm a struggling white person? And I halfway like you? Halfway? And now you're talking about you want some slave reparations?
Well, yeah.
I'm just
So
saying, as a white person,
even when it
it's a
comes
little
to
much.
reparations, just
Little much.
just so my white brothers and sisters in America understand this, nobody's asking for reparations out of your pocket. I just wanted to throw that out there because that's something that's been sold to our neighbors. That's going to happen as if we're going to colonize their houses,
Right.
cash in their assets to put in pockets as a form of reparations. That's
Right.
not a thing. That's not a part of the actual. That's not a part of the
Yeah, but
actual
it's
topic,
the
and that's
whole.
not how that.
Listen, you're probably absolutely right. But as a white person, listen to these words that I'm using. I'm a white person that halfway likes black people. Halfway.
Yeah, I got you.
Some of y'all I love, and some of y'all I can't stand. And then I listen to y'all call each other the N-word on songs, and then I start listening to the songs, and I start saying, well, you know what? Maybe I can like black people, and I can say the N-word again. No. So then you say, as a white person, oh, well, that's a double standard. And then you're talking about these slave reparations, and you're saying it won't come out of my pocket, but that ain't how I'm feeling. Because if the black folks is getting some slave reparations, where's my reparations? And then
Sure.
you say, well, factually, Mr. White person, your great grandfather got the Homestead Act. But that was him. Then it get passed down to me because my so-and-so didn't get along with so-and-so, so we didn't get none of that cut. So now you have white people mad saying this idea of embracing diversity and equity and all this has gone too far, too fast. They're probably saying, look, we didn't overthrow the country. We put a black man in the White House 2 straight terms. We should have overthrown the country then, and we didn't. We say behave. We tried to run them out of there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got to take off, guys. I'll see y'all next weekend.
All right, bro. Yeah, we've been on for an hour and a half almost. But that's also a bit of a point of scientific evolution, right? Those who can't progress won't. And that's the honest truth about it. Right. And so there are, unfortunately, people who can't move forward, can't progress, can't understand these different nuances. Got it. And that's I'm not upset that they can't, but as a point of evolution, as a point of progression, they'll be left behind. That's just the unfortunate. I'm not even going to call it unfortunate. That's just progressively. That's where people go. That's where societies go. And if America doesn't want to progress, and America wants to go back to the 1965 era, right? Well, then we have to begin to be honest about what the country is, which is nothing more and nothing less than a radicalized Christian nation in the same facet that they call radicalized Islamic nations.
So, interesting. You say that, bro, Glass, because I look at, like, not necessarily in this term. I'm interested in who's going to be the next president, because that's really going to be a litmus test on where America is. Because you have frankly, I'm going to call the Democratic Party idiots because what they did to get Trump elected. And yes, Trump, as we know, right? Not the nicest dude, not the most, we call it articulate and decent human being. But hey, the other party's that bad, they put him in office. So let's look at the future here. Look at the slate of candidates on the Democratic side. Look at the slate of candidates on the Republican side. And let's look at the rundown of, if you want to know where America's going, who are they going to choose? And if the Democrats go back to this whole transgender, I want to be able to say to my kids in school it's okay to to switch your sex without involving the parents and all this other stuff that keep on doing, they go back to that stuff. They're going to lose again.
I can meet you there, and I agree with you.
I'm not sure. So it doesn't matter. We could put up Donald Duck in the Republican Party, and Donald Duck will win. And so it's real interesting to me. Is okay, we got 2 years left, I think, a little over 2 years of, who is going to be the next leader. But if Donald Trump keeps taking over the news cycle, which he's gifted at, and invading the Democrats to talk about what he says instead of what they want, game over.
I don't know if it's game over.
No matter what happens to them.
Well, let me make this. This is why I can't say I don't know if it's game over. I have I have a lot of friends that are Catholic, and this pertains to them. But because of the way that he's been interacting with the Pope, right? It's a stain on him, and now he's made it him against Catholicism. There were cardinals that came out not too long
That's
ago.
reaching.
It's not reaching at all.
That's reaching.
It's not reaching
The reason
at
why
all.
I say that is because they know Donald's going to say anything he wants to say
That
anyway.
becomes excusative.
They know he's
that
established
becomes-
that.
That becomes an excuse to sidestep his behavior, right? Because the Pope's taking it seriously. The Pope's taking it seriously. And if the Pope is taking it serious enough to where he's continuing to talk back and push back on the president, well, then the devout Catholics, the American Catholics, are going to do the same thing. Case in point, cardinals came out recently and said in America, Catholicism has lost roughly 30% of its Spanish-speaking population because they're afraid to attend church because of what this president's administration has recently done. Now we're talking big bucks that are being
I would
missed.
agree with you, but look at like the next president. This is exactly what I was talking about. Who
I
is
got
going to be the next president?
Yep, and I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that off the table. But I don't even think we're going to have to wait for the next president. I think he's already begun to separate his vote at the midterms, especially with the Jesus thing, and that's part of the cost of Iran. If you are so engulfed and engrossed with entertainment that you're willing to do any and everything to move the target, I say it to you like this, and I heard this before. People go to circuses to see clowns, but nobody goes to a clown for wise counsel. And right now, what we're seeing is a clown, unfortunately. No, if it becomes to the point to where, we just can't take him seriously, well, then why would people continue to trust their vote and their power and their voice to him? Now, I will agree, and I will cede the fact that if the Democrats run backwards and they begin to try and push their narrative of transgenderism to placate to a specific demographic, they've lost again. They've shot themselves in the foot. But right now, the president is doing more than enough to lose both the midterms and the election.
You know what? I tell you what, Mr. Brooks, I think is right. But I'll add this. President Trump's not running again. So the Republicans have to decide who's going to be their leader. Now, naturally, you would think it'd be J.D. Vance, naturally. But I don't know how President Trump feels. All right.
He's going to win.
But no one knows who's going to be the leader. No one knows who's going to be the public leader of the Democratic Party, because Nancy Pelosi has run Mr. Sowell not just out of the governor's race in California, she's run him out of Congress.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So there's a lot of. Go ahead, Mr. Brooks. Go ahead.
No, I agree with you. I look at it like the last thing the public perception knows of the Democratic Party is they didn't even have a primary. They threw Joe Biden out. They shoved Kamala in, and she got her ass kicked.
And now they've done this again. And they've done this again. Wait a minute. Hold on, Mr. Glass. Not only is he right about how they threw out Biden and threw her in, they have now done this with Mr. Sowell, who was the leading candidate to win the governor's election. And the reason why I can say this to Mr. Brooks is because I'm not going to vote for a Democrat or a Republican in this governor's race. And I don't know how Mr. Brooks is going to vote. But when I get my ballot, and I may do it on this show, I'll show you how I'm voting. because I don't believe.
Do you
that
know
the
Mickey
Tea
Mouse
Party-
gets 10% of the vote every year?
Every year, yeah.
Every
Yeah.
year, Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse gets 10% of the vote of every election every year.
Right.
Okay.
So
10%.
with them, but they threw out Biden. Now they've turned around and threw out Sowell. And they knew about his past if all these allegations are true. If. So they knew about all this years ago, but they waited till almost a week or two before those ballots go out
Yep.
to hand him his ass. Now
Yeah.
that's Nancy Pelosi. That's her.
I agree.
So sometimes when Mr. Brooks,
The Democratic Party still hasn't learned the lesson. They keep repeating the same stupid mistake.
well, I don't know.
There's no reason for them to be like they're done for. Like, well, I can't
They're
say they're
not
not done
done
for yet,
for.
but
Listen,
they're not yet. Not
We-
yet.
we-
But
we
like,
have a
I'm
man-
like, this is what's happening here.
But here's the one thing I will say: when he's gotten on, when Mr. Brooks has gotten on Nancy Pelosi for insider trading, I said, no, that's kind of, to me, all those people in DC are doing that.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, this is her work, because when they threw in Kamala Harris, that wasn't Pelosi's trick on that, because her or Obama said they didn't say nothing for the first 2 or 3 days. Then they came out to endorse her. They didn't come out right away, but the minute they came out with one allegation against Sowell, she quickly came out and says, "Get out the race, get out of the governor's race," because they got somebody else in mind.
yeah.
Now, this is inside California politics that I'm somewhat passionate about because what Mr. Brooks is saying about how the Democrats ran out ran out Biden, the Democrats ran me out of my position as president of the union as well.
So let me start off by saying this. VP Harris didn't get her ass handed to her. She lost, but the margin is a lot smaller than the words actually represent. I just want to throw that out there.
She
But-
lost the majority.
It doesn't matter if you lose by
Listen,
one
no,
in the
it's-
Olympics or two.
It's not a debatable
You
point.
lost.
Did she lose? She did. But characterizing things matter, right? That's why I think it's dangerous that our president doesn't have any kumph, any scruples, or any public speaking
But Mr. Glass,
meaning. But hold on, let me continue this. So, but let's be honest about this, right? When it comes to the numbers, she lost. That's not debatable. She didn't get her ass kicked, right? Now, if she would have, and that's the difference between being in the ring with Tyson and Mayweather. You're gonna lose to Mayweather. You probably ain't gonna get knocked out. You're gonna get your ass
Okay.
bopped up, right? But Tyson gonna whip your ass.
Well, I put it in the
difference.
level of ass kicking because they lost all the swing states. Every
And
single
Thank
one of
you.
them.
I understand
Thank
she
you.
lost the
They-
swing state, but at the end of the day, swing states were lost, right? And again, this is why I don't really debate this part, because yeah, the swing states were lost, but she didn't get her ass handed.
when you wait, hold on, Mr. Glass. When you lose the popular vote, when you lose the electoral college, when someone gets over 312 electoral college votes, which I don't agree with, and you lose all 6 or 7 swing states, you got your ass handed to you.
No, you didn't.
Okay. Oh, what's subjective then? Because those are the numbers. You lose all 7 swing states. Those are the numbers. You lose the majority vote. Those are the numbers. And the person who
Popular
beat you
vote
as
margin.
president-
Popular vote margin: Trump 77.3 million, Harris
Okay.
74.6. Margin
Okay.
was only 2.7 million votes, which is 1.5 to 2%. That's why I'm telling y'all that, right? I'm not disagreeing that she lost. She lost to swing
Wait,
state. She
wait a
lost
minute.
this.
Check
She
this out.
lost that.
Hold on
I
a second.
got that. I'm not
You know what? You know
electoral
what?
college. Now, if you say that she got her ass whooped in the electoral college, yeah, she got her ass tore out the frame with the
Hold on a
electoral
second.
college.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
So this is where I wish Lynn Medeiros and Deuce was on, because I learned this in college. How we interpret numbers means something different to all of us.
Sure.
So one girl may say, 7 inches. Oh man. Another girl may say, that all?
Sure,
So
I got that.
it's how you interpret numbers.
But so numbers are different. Numbers have logic to it. Numbers have logic to it, right?
No.
If
The
it's-
the numbers are objective, but how you interpret them are subjective.
And I'm not arguing with that. But what I will say logically on the logic table, right? If it's above 5, you round up. If it's below 5, you round down. So again, the popular vote, she didn't get her ass handed to her. She didn't. Electoral College. No, that's a whole nother story. She got her ass handed to her on that.
But those swing states is what is the problem.
Would you say
That's
swing
what-
state? She got her ass handed to it because it was 7-0.
But listen, let's pull this back around, because again, I don't argue that specific topic, because at the end of the day, she lost. That's bottom line. She lost. Whether it was by a little or by a lot, she lost. And
But you know
now, because of that loss, we are in Iran.
But wait a minute. You know what she really lost, though? It wasn't just with the votes. You know what she really lost?
What's
Which
that?
she cannot uncover. I said on this show, in 4 months, she lost 2.5 billion. Somebody else said 1.7 billion. When you can't account for billions of dollars, that's a Democrat. A Republican can account for it. They're just not going to tell you where the money was spent, but they can account for it.
Kind of like was it 62.3 or 65.2 billion dollars that Stephen Miller refused to answer about, that was sent out to different accounts in offshore accounts. That's taxpayer money, by the way.
Wait, was that billion or million?
Billion with a B. Taxpayer money, mind you, that was sent out to multiple different accounts, offshore accounts, to a business that was formed in 3 days and then dissolved, and refused to answer Congress as to where that money went. That taxpayer money went while we're still being asked to shovel forward $1.5 trillion, which is going to increase our deficit from what the big beautiful bill called $39.4 trillion to over $40 trillion at this point. Republicans can no longer claim to be fiscally responsible when they govern. It's impossible.
Mr. Glass, if you are correct that Stephen Miller distributed over 65 billion with no accountability, I promise you this: if the Democrats win the White House, if I'm Stephen Miller, I would move to a country with no extradition treaty.
Oh, they're going down south. They're going south. I guarantee it.
With no extradition treaty.
Yeah, they're going south.
Because we know that President Trump has made billions, but he'll tell you he ain't no shame in his game.
Yeah.
But he told you from the very beginning. No, he told you from the very beginning in 2016, I'm not giving up shit. And to be honest with you, I think he said it the way a lot of Americans would say it. I'm running for this position. I'm an American and I'm a businessman. I'm gonna make my money, and I'm not giving up anything. I'm doing you a favor. So I think a lot of Americans agree with him. So when he leaves this White House,
Hillary called him on it during the debate, and he destroyed her. He's like, "Yeah,
we gotta
abuse the
move.
tax loophole."
That's
but
not
this is the cost of war. This is the total cost of war.
I
Not
don't-
just financially, but this is the total cost. When I said you put a black guy, yeah, I'm guilty of it. I voted for him 2 straight terms. You put a black guy in the White House 2 straight terms. This is the consequences. And that's why I said I would have rather have had 10 to 15 black U.S. senators, half men, half women. That's why I said it.
My only thing is, I'd rather know where we are so that we can work forward. I know where we are now.
I always knew though. I didn't need to have a black president to
Yeah,
know where we were at.
We did, and that's true. But
No, wait. Black America always knew where we were at. I can
but
speak
just-
for Black America on this one issue.
yeah.
On this one issue. But
Yeah.
the rest of the world didn't know.
Well, no, some of the world knew. As a matter of fact, a lot of our foreign brothers and sisters that come over here and open up shops in our neighborhoods, they know exactly where it is. That's why they. but anyway, let me get back to the cost of the Iran war. And generally speaking, when we do around the horn, I ask that it be, you can, I usually say you just talk about anything, but on this one specific night, I am going to ask that the around the horn is dedicated to the cost of the Iran war and your actual where you stand on that. And so we will, y'all know I ain't finna go first. Brother Brooks, we will put you on first.
again, we have to finish the job. There's no backing out. There's no running away. There's no like skedaddling out of there. We have to finish what we started, so that way it's done and done. All our objectives achieved, without mercy, without equivocation, without mental reservation, done. And whether the cost is 1.5 trillion or 5 trillion, finish the job. That's my round the horn.
I like it. I dig it.
Wow, he did that fast. All right. The total cost of the Iran conflict is immeasurable. All wars are immeasurable because you have short-term costs and you have long-term costs. And these costs are not just financial, they're emotional. And here's what I'll say to wrap this up really quick to keep up with Mr. Brooks. America will be bombed again. And I don't want to hear no one complain. I don't want to hear no one say, well, why would they bomb us? You already have your answer. Thank you very much. I'm President Brown, Local 1000.
I mean, okay. Yeah, let me flip my camera back around once again. So TikTok can keep seeing my face.
If I ever ran against you, President Brown, I would win.
That'd be a good, you know what? I can do polls on here now. And what I might start doing is putting up polls to see if we ran for presidential debate on a topic tonight, and let us do that real quick just to see where the people stand on it. Anyway, let me knock out my around the horn real quick. So mine is fairly simple. The cost of the Iran war is already too high. And it's not because of any financial reasons. It's not because of any direct inability to politically remove ourselves from it, but it is because there haven't been any flat out objectives laid. There hasn't been any real understanding of what we're doing there. And because of that, we've lost lives. We've lost American lives. And we're continuing to lose lives. And people are being moved around as pawns on this chessboard of life. And some of our friends and family members aren't going to make it back. I got a buddy that's over there, and I spoke with him not too long ago. And it was a very real moment, a reminder of the uniform that I hung up in August. Because I could very well be over there again myself as a logistician. So sure, there's a financial cost. And I explained this to my children the other day, you know, how they're going to have to pay for what is happening now, and it's not fair to them. My grandchildren are going to have to pay for what is happening now. That's money. Money comes and goes. It's not real. Can't take it with you. I get that. But what is real are the lives that are being played with. That's real, and that's the cost. And if we had leadership, if we had leaders who valued the lives of the soldiers, sailors, Marine, airmen, and even Space Force, Coast Guard, if they valued those lives, they wouldn't be moving like this. This is very trashy. This shows that America has lost their strategic footing, not just globally, but specifically in that region. The rules, the art, and the science of war have been torn to shreds because of a failed decision. We shouldn't be there. We should not be there. And we need to pull out as soon as possible. The blockade needs to go. If it's a matter of pride, well, then you figure out a way to get out pridefully, but you don't allow American citizens to stay over there and get killed for no reason. 1 minute it was for liberation of the Iranian people. The next it was because they've got nukes that we were supposed to have destroyed a while ago. And then it was because, well, we can't let them get nukes again. Nothing is relevant. Nothing that they're saying has given or sparked a moment of hope that America is doing the right thing in that region this time. We don't need to be there. The cost is too high. We've lost lives. and nobody can explain why. So that's my around the horn. That's my take on it. And I wish we could get our people out of there. I really, really do. We don't need to be there anymore. So around the horn, that was it. And as always, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all these other beautiful social media platforms, we absolutely appreciate you all for hanging out with us. Hey, if you feel free to do it, and we'd appreciate you for it, go on YouTube. Look up the Family Bloodline. You can look out for the post. You can also look out for the Legacy Table. And you can also look out for Maya K, our financial coach, who has joined our conversations here within the last 2 weeks. And we are getting her spun up on segments that she will be continuously pushing out during this financial literacy month. So join us again here next week, and also join us tomorrow with the Legacy Table. So as always, thank you all for coming out. God bless and good night.